have set alarms every 5 minutes, like 5:10, 5:15, 5:20, but you still end up waking up at 9 a.m. after successfully snoozing all alarms. How many of you study only the night before your examination with full panic, regret, and anxiety? I see my tribe. You know that magical day when your room is clean, your notes are color coded, the weather is 24 degrees Celsius, and the universe finally sends you a text saying, "Hey, today is the perfect day to start your goals. No distractions, go get them, Tiger." Yeah. A few months ago, I had to write an essay on time management, and the universe, in its infinite love for irony, gave me 3 whole months to do it. 3 months? That's basically a lifetime in student years. I was like, oh, I've got a lot of time. I could write a whole book. So I naturally did nothing. Actually, I was doing everything except the thing that I should actually be doing. So I went on a YouTube spiral, which started with a productivity video. But before I knew it, I was emotionally invested in a Zayn Malik's music concert. So I waited until the pressure was so intense and the deadline got so close. And just like that, 3 months turned into two, two became one became, okay, I'll do this weekend. And then, boom, I was 6 hours away from the deadline. That's when I realized that it wasn't just me who procrastinates, or this isn't the first time I'm procrastinating. And after digging a lot of research and surveys, I found that it wasn't just me who procrastinates. Over 86% of teenagers, 92% of college students, and 20% of adults are chronic procrastinators too. Turns out, procrastination isn't just a problem for me or for you. It's almost an unofficial hobby of the majority. "I'll start tomorrow" is the most dangerous sentence, which feels like a productivity plan. But in reality, it's just a soft lie in sweatpants. Greetings to one and all. I'm SHREENITHI, a 12th grader from Public School, Chennai, India. And I'm here to give my first TEDx talk on the topic breaking the procrastination cycle. For those who don't know what procrastination is, Google defines it as the act of delaying or postponing something. But we all know it's something more than just that. It's the art of convincing ourselves that later is always better than now. And that convincing always comes in a form of a trap. A trap which is disguised as something innocent, something which we all fall for. The phrase, "just one last time." I've always been that person who says, "just one last episode on K-drama," which later turned into the entire night of binge watching. And guess what? It has become morning. How many of you have ever told yourself just one last time? Like just one last reel before you sleep, just one last biryani before you diet, or just one last nap before you start preparing for your examination? And then, boom, it's been 3 hours and your phone is overheating. You had eaten enough to feed a whole cricket team, and your textbook is still last untouched as your gym membership. Little did I know, just one last time would become my personal time vampire and procrastination monster. Well, when people hear the word procrastination, they usually jump to the same conclusion. Because most people think procrastination is a poor time management problem. That's what we've all been taught, isn't it? So we buy planners, we download productivity apps, we even watch motivational videos at 2 a.m. And yet, we still procrastinate. But what if I tell you procrastination has nothing to do with time management? It's not about being lazy either. Then what is it about? Well, procrastination is an emotional regulation problem, and scientists have proof for this. In a recent study at Ruff University in Germany, researchers took MRI scans of the brains of the procrastinators and the brains of the non-procrastinators. And what they found was literally shocking. Because they found that the procrastinator's brain had a larger amygdala. Well, what is amygdala? Amygdala is the part of the brain which handles stress, fear, anxiety, emotions, boredom, and so on. It's just the part of our brain which makes us avoid hard tasks and wants us to do easier things instead of working hard. So, what they found is that the procrastinator's brain had a larger amygdala as compared to the non procrastinators. And the connection between the amygdala to the decision making part of the brain was literally weaker for the procrastinators. So, here's the real story: our brains aren't being lazy, it's just trying to protect us from the pain which is associated with the stressful task. Well, how many of you here have ever wondered why you can binge watch Netflix for 5 hours straight, but you can't focus on your work for even 5 minutes? Well, this is because of dopamine. Our brain releases a neurochemical called dopamine, which makes us feel good when we do something enjoyable. When you get a like on your Instagram post, or when you win a game, or when you even have your favorite snack, your brain releases dopamine, which makes you want to do it again, again, and again. It feels like that one impulsive friend who says, let's party now and panic later. And this is why your brain cheers you up for social medias and gamings, but goes quiet when you open your textbook. So every time you say just one last scroll, the dopamine is like, hey, that feels so good, let's do that again, completely ignoring the assignment which is due tomorrow. Playing video games, dopamine it. Binge watching Netflix, dopamine it. Doom scrolling Instagram, dopamine overdose. But opening a book or finishing a boring assignment, error, no dopamine detected. Well, dopamine doesn't just affect teenagers like us, it even influences adults. If you don't believe it, raise your hands if you have ever felt easy to spend money rather than to save it for your future. Well, this is because of the dopamine. I had to ask myself a hard question. Am I stuck because I can't grow? Or am I stuck because I keep choosing what's comfortable over what's necessary? Well, the answer hurts, but it changed me. Because every time we choose the easy thing over the right thing, we keep telling ourselves, I don't believe I can handle this right now. And over time, this becomes our identity. Not just what we do, but who we think we are. We stop trusting our abilities and start saying things like, I'm always inconsistent. I never finish what I start. And slowly, our potential starts collecting the dust behind the curtain of comfort. Well, let us now know the actual neurology behind this procrastination cycle. There are two major parts of our brain which are constantly arguing, especially when it comes to getting things done. The first is the prefrontal cortex. So this prefrontal cortex is like the adult in our brain. It's the most logical, the grown-up part of our brain. It helps us to plan, to focus, to make decisions, and to think about our future. It's basically the one which says, let's start it now and be responsible. While the second part of the brain is amygdala. This amygdala handles emotions like stress, fear, anxiety, boredom, and so on. It's the one screaming, this task is so hard. Let's do something funnier and easier instead of working hard. And when these two parts starts clashing in our head, logic says, do it right now, while the emotion says, run from it. And eventually, we end up procrastinating. Not because our brains are lazy, but because our brains are literally wired to choose short-term comforts over the long-term efforts. Well, there is something which hides underneath procrastination, something which we don't always recognize. It's the perfectionism type of procrastination. When people hear perfectionism, they usually think that perfectionism is about doing something perfectly, isn't it? But perfectionism isn't about doing something perfectly. It's about being terrified of doing it imperfectly. Let me say something. It was Sunday night, and I was sleeping in my bed, staring at the ceiling like it's a Netflix documentary. I whispered to myself, Tomorrow, I'll wake up at 5, I'll meditate, I'll study 6 chapters, I'll drink green tea without even gagging. No social media, no distraction. Just productive vibes and success. And the next morning, the alarm rings at 5. Guess what I did? I snoozed it. My brain said, let's start it from tomorrow or the first of next month. Fresh start feels cleaner, isn't it? Raise your hands if your dreams has been postponed to a Monday that never comes. I see my tribe. Well, you know that magical day when your room is clean, your notes are color coded, the weather is 24 degrees Celsius, and the universe finally sends you a text saying, hey, today is the perfect day to start your goals. No distractions, go get them, tiger. Yeah, I was waiting for that perfect moment too. Spoiler, that is a myth, and that day never comes. But just a random Tuesday at 3:07 p.m., half dead, 30% confused, but still choosing to show up. That's the real thing, and that's where the growth actually begins. The perfect start is a lie that we tell to ourselves to justify the delay of our growth. But the truth is, we don't need the perfect start. We just need a real one. I just realized something. The longer that I waited for the perfect start, the more perfect I became at waiting. You know what most of us do? We plan, we make to do lists and schedules, we promise ourselves, but when it's time to actually start, we freeze, and that is the real struggle. The hardest part isn't finishing, it's just starting. Well, at this point of time, you might probably be thinking, okay, Srinidhi, you have talked about a lot of brain stuffs, the neurology, the personal struggles, and so on. But what do we actually need to take away from all these? And that's honestly a valid question. That's why I came up here with something called the 5 star. Any guesses what it is? No, it's not a chocolate bar, nor a hotel rating system. But it melts away your procrastination and maybe your excuses too. Each letter of 5 star stands for a legit way of beating procrastination and to start things. 5 stands for 5-minute rule. Will you believe if I say that you can build any habit that you desire to by just following this 5-minute rule? Yeah, so there's this 5-minute rule where you tell yourself that you'll just study for 5 minutes and you're allowed to quit if that doesn't go well after 5 minutes. Because for most of us, starting is the real struggle, which can be easily eliminated through this method. Once we start, the momentum usually kicks in. So all you gotta do is just set a timer for 5 minutes and see how often you go longer than just 5 minutes. Yes stands for set artificial deadlines. So when do we procrastinate? We procrastinate when we have a lot of time. We procrastinate when the deadline is too far. So what if we set an artificial deadline? Confused, right? So if I have a stressful assignment to do, this is what I do. And if the deadline is 30 days away, I believe that the deadline is just 15 days away. And this acts as a driving force which pulls me in. T stands for temptation bundling method. Back when I was dreading my maths assignment, I made a rule. No Netflix until I solve at least 10 problems. At first, I hated it. But after a few days, I noticed something weird. Instead of procrastinating, I had actually rushed to finish the task because I was so excited to continue watching my favorite show once I complete the boring assignment. I started turning the boring assignments into a level that I had to beat to unlock the reward. A stands for act immediately or countdown method. When you feel the urge to procrastinate, just do this instead. Count backwards like 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And by the time your brain hits 1, you physically move before your brain starts giving excuses. This activates your prefrontal cortex, the action taking part of your brain. And by the time your brain hits 1, your brain switches from thinking to doing before any excuses or procrastination can stop you. R. Rewards and consequences. Focus on rewards and consequences. So, if I have a stressful assignment to do, what I do is that I'll visualize the rewards, the benefits that I derive if I stop procrastinating and do the task instead of it. Or I'll visualize the consequences, the embarrassments that I'll face in front of everyone if I keep procrastinating and postpone the task. And this acts as a very good driving force which pulls me in. Think about a climber plant. It is not planted in the best soil. It doesn't have any ideal conditions. It does not even get the proper sunlight. But does it stop growing? No. It climbs, reaches, adapts, and twists itself, finding whatever surface it can to grow towards the sunlight. And that's exactly what we need to learn from the plant. Growth doesn't come from waiting. Growth comes from reaching. Well, picture this. You're standing in a harbor, and out there in the distance is your goal. But between you and your goal is a storm. A storm which might look messy, dangerous, maybe even unpredictable. But here you are, standing in the harbor, safe and still. And that harbor is what your procrastination is. It makes you feel safe, familiar, and comfortable. It creates an illusion that you're in control. But here's the truth. Harbors aren't where ships are meant to stay, isn't it? Ships are meant for motion, for forward movement, and for action. And just like the ship, we're not meant to stay anchored in our comfort zone. We're meant to sail even when it's uncertain. Because growth, progress, and achievement, they're not something which is found in the harbor. They're something which we get through the storm. Procrastination is like a credit card. Fun now, but painful later. We're not out of time, we're just out of excuses. So stand with me here at the edge of a great possibility. Behind you is the comfort of delaying and the allure of your flawless edition. And ahead is the unknown seas of growth waiting for your first and imperfect step. You gotta choose which one ends and starts today. And the choice that you make today is going to decide whether your future is built by comfort or by courage. Thank you.